Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Spiffing Brit and welcome to Sid Meier's Civilization 6. That's right, it might be 2026, and despite the march of time, this is still one of the greatest strategy games ever. It's very easy to learn and challenging to master. But today we're going to be doing things very differently. We're going to see if it's possible to beat the game without producing anything. Yes, that's right, Civ 6 with no production at all. Production is arguably the most important aspect of the game, as you need it to do everything. Want buildings to get science? Well, that's going to be production. Want to build an army to defeat your neighbors? You guessed it, production. Want to build natural wonders that completely destroy the balance of the game? Yes, the only way to do that is with production. We're about to have ourselves an absurdly challenging game of Civ 6. Some might say this challenge is impossible and should only be attempted by a madman. Well, luckily for you all, I am. So grab yourselves a nice warm cup of Yorkshire tea as we're about to dive into a game of perfectly balanced Civilization 6 with absolutely no exploits. I actually just winked IRL. So, who are we playing as today, ladies and gentlemen? Say hello to Sundayata Kieta. That's definitely how their name's pronounced. He comes from the Mali Empire. Mali is great for us, as the only downsides are the production negatives, which won't affect us at all. But they have some major buffs to both gold and faith, which will be essential for how we're going to play. And this first ability, Sogolon, is going to be a key part of our late game strategy, as we're going to be aiming for a culture victory. But we'll come back to that later. Right, so welcome ladies and gentlemen into this glorious world, and we're spawning right next to Mount Fuji. Now, I guess this start isn't exactly perfect. After all, our luxuries are a little bit far away from us. However, I'm going to stick with it for one very important reason. We've spawned in next to T, and so that means this save file must be blessed by the gods. So let's found our first city, and we shall name this city Spiff's bank account. After all, this is where I'm going to be getting most of my money from. Now, when you start a game of Civilization, you of course begin with your warrior and a few important instructions, namely, what are we researching? I'm going to go for pottery. Then after that, the game wants to know what we're going to produce in our city. The answer is nothing. We can't do anything. Normally, you'd start producing a few scouts so that way you could explore the map. However, we can get around this by purchasing things. There's just one slight issue with that. We have only 10 gold, and the cheapest thing on the list, being a scout, costs 120. This is an absurdly expensive thing indeed, but units are only one way to actually expand ourselves in this game. While settlers might let us place down new cities, those cities won't be able to actually build anything, so there's not really much point of them. Buildings are one of the few ways we can actually increase our yields of science and culture. However, they cost an absurd amount of money. I mean, this monument is 240 gold, so we're going to need to find a way to get a lot of money very quickly. Anyway, let's begin by exploring the map off to the side and seeing what all of these cows are up to. Right, it would appear the cows are worshipping this glorious delicate arch in the desert. This is very nice indeed. And with this, because of one of the DLCs we're playing with, we have discovered the Hermetic Order. That's right, there are secret societies in this game, and we can pledge ourselves to them and get various bonuses, allowing us to discover ley lines and making them very powerful, and we probably will do that actually later. But for the moment, instead, we're going to take the bonus from discovering them and grab ourselves a different governor entirely. There is only one governor we can actually go for, and that is Raina. Raina here is the financier, and we have to go for her for one very important reason. The contractor bonus here allows us to purchase districts with gold. These districts will allow us to get science, religion, and culture. And as we can't make them through production, this perk is essential. So yes, if you couldn't already tell, the main reason we're actually playing with the Secret Society DLC is just so that I can get this one extra governor title at the start of the game. Is it a bit cheesy? Yes, but I am the Spiffing Brit, Lord of Cheese. Now, the interesting predicament we have here is that I need to end my turn, but the game isn't going to let me because I need to produce something. However, we have a slight workaround. If I hold down Shift and Enter, the game will forcefully end. So that's what I'm going to do. We force end our turn, and wabam! It's turn 2, where we have produced nothing. Meanwhile, off in the background, there are 9 other AIs somewhere on this map who are all fast at work actually building things. Anyway, right, we move to the left and we grab that goody hut that's left on the ground, and that gives us the bonus of experience. Experience, really? I mean, that's not exactly a very useful thing to have, but fine game, I'll take it. down to our south in the fog of war, we've discovered the city-state of Venice. They are a mercantile city-state, meaning they like making money, and because we're the first people to find them, they've given us a free envoy. This is actually pretty useful because it gives us +2 gold in our capital, so thank you very much, Venice. They've also got a mission for us. Please defeat the barbarian outpost. This is something I am more than happy to oblige with, because said barbarian outpost is very annoying indeed. However, if I were to attack this barbarian outpost right now, the city-state will actually get the kill, and I won't be able to win this mission. So instead, I'm going to end my turn, let the city-state do some of the fighting, and then march in to steal all of the glory. You might not like it, but this is how true devious Brits operate. Venice will award us with an envoy for being so good at doing missions. Alright, we're just going to chase this scout further north, and ooh, another goodie hut. Splendid stuff, let us grab it. What do we get? Wheel technology. Great, we've gained some knowledge on how to make a wheel. Yeah, we're quite away from actually putting that into practical use. I also don't really know how you get partially inspired on what a wheel is. I feel like you either know what it is, or you don't. Anyway, we're going to keep chasing down this scout, and most importantly in the background, our civic research has completed, meaning we can pick up some policies here. We're going to grab discipline so we can fight barbarians better, and then for economic policy, do we take production that we can't use or faith and gold that we can? Difficult decision, ladies and gentlemen. The only other advantage we have, as Mali, is that our capital will generate faith based off of these nearby desert tiles. This faith can be pretty good because it allows us to rush down a pantheon before the AI. Right, with that we also need to make sure to pick our next focus for civic research, and with that we're going to be beelining our way to early empire. We want to grab as many of these governor titles as fast as possible. And all right, the end of our turn complete. Let's chase down this scout and get it murdered. But on turn 15, we've managed to get ourselves a pantheon. So let's go through the list and see what we can grab. We've got a few bonuses to get extra faith from desert tiles, which, you know, we kind of don't need if we can settle this delicate arch. So let me see if we can grab it. Yes, we can. Religious settlements. The most overpowered pantheon in the entire game, and I have no idea why the developers left it in. This bad boy is brilliant. When selected, you get a free settler in your capital. Now, for us, if we wanted to get a settler, that's 320 gold. At our current rate of gold production, that means we can have one settler in 40 turns time. Yeah, that's not very good at all. So instead, we're going to speed up that process by yanking one for free. We didn't produce it, we just manifested it into reality using pure belief. Anyway, we're going to march him off to the left because we really want to settle this delicate arch. To the left of the delicate arch, we found ourselves this nice little spot here with some maize, and ooh, would you look at that? That is a very nice tile to settle on. Looks like we've got ourselves another city-state here, but look at this. Rice, maizy. Right, up north we go. We have ourselves this goodie hut to grab, and also we need to do some research. Let's go irrigation. Irrigation makes sense because I need it in order to capture this cotton and tea. So on turn 18 of this game, we're actually somehow able to settle our second city in range of a wonder. I know, it's genuinely incredible. What are you going to be called? Not Timbuktu. You shall be called Spiff's Ego. May you grow into something magnificent. Also, this is the turn where we're going to be making our first purchase of the game. We're going to be buying ourselves a scout. The reasoning is simple. We need to get our scout out and about on the map, discovering other civilizations, and most importantly, grabbing these goodie huts. Oh, and another goodie hut to our north. Splendid stuff. Look at this bad boy. Well, let's hop on new. An extra envoy. That's what we get. Okay, and also the inspiration of a new continent. Oh, and is that another city-state discovered? Yes, it is. So we found Granada, we found Preslav. However, the city-state I want to grab is Venice. Because we already have two envoys with them, the third is a nice little bonus that makes us their suzerain. And with that, we get some much-needed era score, vision over the map, but also we start generating diplomatic favor. And now that we've researched animal husbandry, we can also start collecting horses around the map too. We'll be able to use both the horses and the favor in trading, which is going to be the backbone of our strategy. Oh, there's another civilization down south. I can see some borders and they kind of look French to me. And to our north, we have also discovered Sweden. There we go. It's an honor to meet you. We'd love to sample some of your hospitality because we want to become friends with the AI, as they're going to let us break the game a bit. So yes, there is Stockholm to our north, and with this, we're actually going to do a little bit of initial cheesing. You see, the Swedes have money. They have 76 gold in total, so we can say, hey, look, we have this thing called diplomatic favor. Would you like it? And they will, of course, give us a huge amount of money for it. There we go, 9 total gold for 1 diplomatic favor. Now, we could go through that menu a million times over, but that's very slow. Thankfully, I have a UI mod to make my life a little bit easier in the form of this quick deal here, which simplifies the process just a little bit. There we go. And with that, we've sold off all of our diplomatic favor, and we're up to 120 gold. Can we also sell them horses? Do they like the idea of horses? They do. We can sell them 4 horses for 17 gold. Bam, we'll do that. Now, unfortunately, no one is looking to sell quite yet, so we can't fully break the game with an exploit I've got up my sleeve. So we'll have to come back to this later. All right, there we go. So we now have 139 gold in the bank, which means I can buy myself a second scout, which seems like a very wise idea. And we've also discovered down to the south, no, it wasn't the French, it was actually Alexander the Great. Well, hopefully he's going to be a really chill, happy guy who's not going to just murder us into the ground. Now, the most important thing about Alexander the Great is he actually really likes horses, which means we can sell him all of our horses for 4 gold for the next 30 turns. So we'll do just that, and then on top of that, we can sell our diplomatic favor to Sweden again for 9 gold. We're now making 11 gold per turn, which isn't too bad considering that we don't have any other way of gaining resources. Now, I'm hoping that by feeding Alexander the Great a bunch of horses, he's not going to use them to just murder me, but there is a chance. Oh my goodness, Alexander the Great has lost his settler to a barbarian. It's good to know that the AI is on par with my friends. Oh dear, that is brilliant. Again, so to the north, we've discovered the city-state of Anshan, as well as another AI. That's right, we've discovered Matthias of Hungary. Now, I'm hoping that Matthias is going to be very unique here, and yes, Matthias is willing to sell us diplomatic favor. This is going to allow us to exploit the game. The AI in this game is not very intelligent at placing value on things. Matthias here views that 16 diplomatic favor is worth only 2 gold, so we'll buy all 16 of his diplomatic favor for 2 gold. The problem is we can then go back to Matthias, who is now lacking in diplomatic favor, and say, how much would you like for 1 diplomatic favor? He says it's worth 2 gold. Yes, I don't think this man understands how the economy works, because we can immediately get back all of the money we spent for the cost of just 1 diplomatic favor, and we're left over with all of the excess as profit. So what do we do with the excess? Well, quite simply, we can throw out 1 diplomatic favor and sell it to Sweden, because Sweden is more than happy to spend all of their income, so that way they now have 0 gold remaining just on diplomatic favor. What incredibly wise people. We're then going to pivot from this and sell 5 of our diplomatic favor back to Hungary, making some money in the process, and then we'll sell the remaining 11 over to Alexander the Great. Each time we do this, we make 2 gold. We're then going to switch on over to the purchase section of the tab, where we can see that the wonderful Alexander the Great is willing to actually sell us their diplomatic favor for 2 gold. So we'll buy back the 11 diplomatic favor we just sold them for the cost of 2 gold, and then you guessed it, we're going to sell back to Alexander the Great again. He might be smart enough to conquer the entire world, but he unfortunately is not smart enough to understand supply and demand economics. So there we go, we've just sold back all of our diplomatic favor, we're then going to sell off all of our horses, and now Alexander the Great is left with only 17 gold in the bank. Someone who's good with the economy, help me balance this budget. Anyway, with the 230 gold we now have, we can actually invest it into some useful things. We could buy ourselves a trader, we could grab a builder. However, the main thing I want to try and save up for is the monument, which we should have enough money for next turn. So let's just end our turn, and in our capital city of Spiff's bank account, we're going to build a monument. This is going to give us +1 culture, which takes our culture per turn from 3 to 4, meaning we get early empire just that bit quicker. Okay, Sweden doesn't want to be my friend. I see how it is. How about you, Hungary? You don't seem very chill. Maybe Alexander the Great wants to be my friend? Yes, Alexander the Great is willing to be my friend. That's my guy. You have the Ark of the Covenant? You're not willing to sell the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, that's fine. I can understand why. All right, Alexander the Great, I'm going to ask to have all of your diplomatic favor. All right, so I've bought all of the diplomatic capital off of Greece and Hungary again, and we'll now once again sell it back on the open market, of course draining all of Sweden's money. And let's try and do as much business as possible with the Hungarians. It would appear that Alexander the Great already loves us, so we don't really need to improve his opinion there. He has, after all, just lost a settler to a barbarian. We've also met a new civilization in the form of Basil of the Byzantines, who is way off to the left in Constantinople, and fantastically we have now researched the early empire, meaning we get ourselves our first governor title, and we will start rushing down to get craftsmanship, state workforce, and then political philosophy. As the faster we rush down the civic street, the sooner we can start focusing on growing our tourism, item for the end game. Right, and with our first governor title, we're going to upgrade Raina so that she gets forestry management, plus 2 gold for each unimproved feature, and tiles adjacent to unimproved features gain appeal. This is really good for us because we can't actually afford to improve any of our tiles, so she's basically just adding money to everything that we have, meaning this city is now going to start making 18 gold per turn. However, we are 38 turns into the game and we are very much going to be lagging behind. Also, we can do some business. We can sell open borders to people. Alexander the Great is willing to buy our open borders for 7 gold as well as 5 gold per turn. Alexander, you are just a Labrador that does not understand economics. God, the Swedish lady's crazy. She's willing to give 4 gold for 30 turns just for 9 diplomatic favor. I mean, I just should take that deal. That's an absurd amount of money. And then we'll sell the rest over to our good friend Alexander. Some might say that this is a very tedious way of playing the game, and you would of course be completely correct. However, I'm the Spiffing Brit and I break games, and quite often that means doing the most tedious repetitive action for 1,000 times. So yes, this does have to be one of the most impractical ways of playing the game, but it is working. As you can see, our gold is climbing, and after a few turns we even secure a golden age for the next era, which means we'll be able to invest all this gold back into our cities to help lay the foundations for our empire. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, as turn 60 ends, we move into a new era of the game entirely, the classical era. It's a very big exciting time for us because a few things have happened. We've researched political philosophy, which means we can decide our government. We're going to go for classical republic, and because we're in a golden age, we get to pick up a bonus, and so of course we're going to go for monumentality here, plus 2 movement for builders, and we may purchase civilian units with faith, and building civilian units like builders and settlers are 30% cheaper with faith and gold. So this now means instead of it costing us 400 gold to buy a settler, we can do it for 305. Huzzah! There we go, a brand new settler has just entered the map, and next turn I think we can do another one up here. The main focus of these cities is not to put them in a location where the production is good or they make a lot of sense. It is genuinely just so I can get my hands on some luxury resources which we can then use to trade with the AI. Right, we're going to settle our 3rd city right here, and then pop our 4th city on this hill so we get all of this tea. The city on the lake next to the Jade shall be called YouTube. Yes, it will be a mighty city, hopefully growing wealthy thanks to the power of Jade and tea. In order to actually speed up that process, we're going to want to get some builders on the case. However, builders cost money, I don't have any, so let's sell some diplomatic favor once more. And then now that I'm at 151 gold, I can go into YouTube and buy a builder for 150. Splendid stuff. This economy is going to start skyrocketing very rapidly. So with this, let's add some tea into our trade network. Wabam! Lovely stuff. And we can actually get ourselves another trade route up and running. +1 science from sending a trade route to Fez is really important for us because we don't easily have a way of getting science and we will start lagging behind the AI if we're not careful. And we now also found our 4th city over here, New Tea Land, for there is quite a nice amount of tea nearby. I can sell tea for a lot of money though. Wow. Okay, this actually might be something that's worth doing because the revenue generated from that would really power up our empire. Let's buy ourselves a new worker down here to the south. There we go, another builder to improve the lands of New Tealand. And with this, we can now get ourselves another source of tea added into the empire. Splendid. And because we've managed to get all of this tea growing, we're actually in a very special situation where we can start to monopolize tea. Oh, and have we met Ethiopia? Very fun. A new civilization met is another person who we can do business with. Do you like the sound of horses? They do like the sound of horses. Thank you very much. I'll take that. And we can even sell our extra tea off. Who do we give it to? Poland to the north is willing to give us 11 gold for 30 turns. I think that's probably worth it. That is a huge amount of money. Thank you very much. Yes, just like any good British person, selling tea on the open market for profit. And then we'll be buying this tile here, which is going to hopefully allow us to get a monopoly on tea going. Here we go. Some industry. This gives us plus 15% science in our capital city, which is actually taking us into the lead. We haven't produced anything, but against the AI, we are winning. And now that we've secured some additional luxuries, we're able to trade for even higher amounts of gold. And with that gold, we're able to expand our tea empire even further. So it feels safe at this point to say we're set for gold. But gold alone isn't going to win us the game. No, for that, we're going to need culture. which in turn is going to need a fair bit more infrastructure within our cities. Now, even though we're starting to make an absurd amount of money, and we can buy military units, that doesn't mean I'm going to go for a conquest victory. Yes, it is probably the easiest way to win this game from this point on, but it involves me having to use my fingers to micromanage units, and I can't be bothered. This is a game I can play whilst relaxing and drinking a cup of tea, so it's the very cheesy culture victory I'm aiming for. Okay, this is actually going to be huge. I've discovered that my good friend Alexander, the happiest, smiliest man in the universe, is willing to give us the Ark of the Covenant for a little bit of tea, some shiny green rocks, and 7 gold. And best of all, after 30 turns, we get the shiny green rocks and tea back. So yes, I will be taking that deal, Alexander. That is incredible. Getting the AI to give you relics is nigh impossible normally, but this is fantastic. We've slotted the Ark of the Covenant into Spiff's bank account, and this will be generating us a little bit of tourism and faith every turn. Tourism isn't going to be that useful for us for quite a while, but the faith will allow us to hopefully get a few more builders and settlers out. But for now, let's get some extra gold in our pockets, as next turn we're going to be unlocking defense tactics, which means we can upgrade Rainer and start building out our cities. Right, so who wants some horses? So huzzah! With that complete, we can now go into our capital city and finally build a district that's actually unique to Mali, the Saguba, for only 250 gold. We will place it down over here, and with that we get +4 era score, and most importantly, everything just got slightly cheaper to purchase. We're going to immediately open up by building ourselves a market and then another trader. And on top of that, we're also going to be building ourselves a diplomatic quarter just over here. Wabam! There we go. This diplomatic quarter immediately gives us 1 extra envoy, who we're going to get sent out to Ashan over here, so that way we can claim to be their suzerain. We'll also try and become the suzerain of Nalanda, and in doing this we get some nice era score, but most importantly, we are now going to start generating some science off of our great works. Right, so we are almost set up before we start building towards a culture victory, but there is one final gold bottleneck we need to overcome, and that is building a holy site in our capital. So I am going to have to sell diplomatic favor for 1 gold each, meaning I have to push this button over 50 times. Yes, my fingers are developing RSI as I do this challenge. There we go, 400 gold. With that secured, we should now be able to build ourselves a holy site. We need 7 population or greater. Right, we don't have that. So instead, we're going to move Rainer over towards Spiff's Ego, where we can then deploy in 5 turns and build some more districts. So we're gonna have to wait 5 turns until we can get our holy site up and running, but that's still pretty good. Oh wow, you're willing to give me 6 gold for 30 turns. Oh, Sweden, this is very interesting. Let me see if I give you 20, because I think that's the maximum you can calculate. Yeah, anything above this is meaningless. So by offering Sweden 20 diplomatic favor, they're going to give me 6 gold for the next 30 turns, and then I believe that is all of their money that they have lying around. So we've just taken all of their gold per turn and locked it in. Nice. Anyway, over in Spiff's Ego, we're now able to get constructing all of our lovely districts, and for this, of course, we first want to get ourselves a Saguba down to make all future purchases slightly cheaper. However, we do need money. So who'd like to buy some iron from me? Turns out everyone. And then some horses. Okay, and so on turn 99 of the game, we should now have enough money in the bank, as well as Rainer in position to be able to buy this holy site and slam it down next to our wonder. There we go. Then we just need to grab ourselves a shrine, and then we can start forming ourselves a religion. And perfect, we've unlocked drama and poetry. So with that and our religion, we're now able to stay focusing on tourism. But we just need a tiny bit more money to buy some theatre districts, and then we can finally start generating great people. Honestly, we're effectively some kind of war trader. Our entire job is just selling weapons on the open market, or maybe the ingredients for a fine frozen lasagna if you include the horses. Right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is turn 113, and we have ourselves a great prophet. That's right, it's John the Baptist. We're going to be able to recruit them in Spiff's Ego and use them to found the religion. And this shall be the pinch your pockets religion. Quite simply, we're here to make money. Relics have triple yields of faith, and tourism is inherently broken, so we'll take that, and then we'll grab lay ministry for a little bit of extra faith and culture. And there we go, our brand new religion has been formed, and our empire shall shall be all the more wealthy for it. Now, one of the main things we are, of course, focusing down are great works of writing. We have a huge amount of space for them, and each one is going to generate us a nice amount of tourism. There's just one issue. We're not the only people racing for them. Sweden has already produced multiple great works of writing, and Macedonia and an unmet player are also getting pretty close to claiming one. So we're going to do our best to try and actually get some of the existing great works out of the map. The Ramayana here is a great work that Sweden controls, and they're willing to give it to us, provided we give them 21 gold per turn. How about instead of that, I throw in some horses, as well as a bunch of diplomatic favor. Now they only want 11 gold per turn. That's significantly more reasonable, so we'll accept this deal and steal an entire great work from them. Yes, it cost me 11 gold per turn, I get it, that's bad. But this great work is generating us 2 production, 4 gold, 2 science, and 4 culture, as well as some tourism. Very useful indeed. And the thing is, now that we actually are giving Sweden money per turn, Sweden actually has money per turn to give back to us. And that means, of course, they're willing to buy our diplomatic favor. So that's what we've done. We've done a nice trade deal with Sweden to get some money per turn back. And now we're going to make a new deal and ask for their other great work. So let's throw in more horses and nonsense, as well as 20 diplomatic favor, and we'll buy their other great work for just 19 gold per turn. Yes, it's a lot of money, but it's okay. Now that we have that sorted, let's immediately get 12 gold per turn back from them by giving them some diplomatic favor. Oh, they're willing to do even more. Oh, this is fantastic. And there we go. Sweden is making no more gold per turn. Nice. We literally have a trade deal where we have just taken all of their great works and in return said, we'll pay you money per turn for them, and then just handed them nebulous diplomatic points, and they're going to give us all of that very same money back. Perfect. Okay, we've now found Bologna, which is arguably one of the most overpowered city-states in the game. Just gives you 1 extra great person point for all of your relevant things, which now means we should be making 6.9 great writer points per turn. Yep, that seems perfectly fair to me. Okay, we now have enough religion points lying around to grab ourselves our first missionary, whose job is going to be quite simply to convert my bank account to my very own religion. In doing so, it will actually also boost up our tourism generation by quite a large amount. And speaking of tourism, we're able to grab ourselves our first great writer. They've spawned into Spiff's ego, and we can plop them down over here to produce a great work of writing. The AI is now rapidly starting to take off with some of its various productions. However, we can still kind of swindle it, like for example over here we can convince our good friend Hungary to give us the art of war for only 9 gold per turn. Thank you very much, you gullible sausage. Okay, we're now up to 26 tourism per turn thanks to that, and this number should go up quite a bit more after we convert Spiff's bank account. Okay, we now enter into the medieval era, which does mean the end of our monumentality bonuses, meaning we can no longer use faith to buy things like settlers and builders, but I still think we managed to get a nice amount of value from it. After all, we've built so many districts faster than any of the AI. But for now, our strategy is unchanged. We're going to continue going around the map doing trades to get gold, while collecting all the great works we can. And this is going to be quite the tedious process, so I'll be back once we've made some notable progress. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's 1040 AD, otherwise known as turn 165. Things have been going quite well for us because, you know, we've progressed up to the point where we can start building things like modern banks, we know how to build a frigate, and we're only a few turns away from being able to understand what industrialization is. It's safe to say things are going pretty well for us. However, we do technically need to win this game, and for us, winning the game is most likely going to need to be a culture victory. We are currently dominant over one other civilization, mostly because we're making 94 tourism per turn. In comparison, if we take a look at some of the other AIs like Hungary here, they're making 9. That's just not as good. Our stats are completely off of the charts right now, and yes, once again, we haven't had to build anything yet. We are motoring through with literally the pure power of vibes. Right, anyway, onwards to the next turn we go. Wow, we found a goodie hut. A goodie hut. It's turn 166. How are there still goodie huts around this map? Okay, I'm not going to question it. It's fine. The game's going okay. Now, when it comes to actually progressing through this game, we are now making over 411 gold per turn, which is very nice. However, the main thing we need to keep a track of are our great people. In order to keep in the lead of our great person generation, we need control over the city-state of Bologna, or Bologna, Bolognese, who knows, it doesn't really matter. This bad boy is allowing us to generate 21 great merchant points per turn, so yes, I want control of him. He is my special boy. Okay, fantastic, I have found one more great work. Norway has control control over a book. They want 10 gold per turn. Ooh, that's a bit expensive, Norway. How about instead I give you some iron and 20 diplomatic points rather than 10 gold per turn? Okay, how much money is that going to be? 6 gold per turn. That's much more reasonable. Thank you very much for the book. Okay, so that's the great work stolen from Norway. Persians don't have anything. Macedonia, do you have any great works? You've got 1. Let me offer you some horses and some diplomatic points. All right, now, how much for the book? 15 gold per turn. Oh, we'll take it. We just need all of the great works. Okay, we're buying one last book from Sweden. There we go. So none of the AIs now have access to any great works, and we have every single great work that exists in the entire world. Splendid. That will boost up our tourism even more. Let's end our turn. We're now in the Renaissance era. Perfect. This is very exciting. We also managed to achieve a golden age. And once again, we'll go for monumentality so that all of our purchases with faith are slightly cheaper. This is brilliant stuff. There's the other AI. I finally found them. Look at this. Look at this. There's some borders. There's some borders. All right, let's go meet this final civilization. Who is it? It's the Aztecs. Great. It's Montezuma. A pleasure to meet you. How many cities do you have? Oh, you actually have a few. And you have great works. Can I even store them? I can store 2 more books. Have I got great works of writing on the way? Yes, so there's no point. Right, we have another great artist just summoned into existence. Here we go. Okay, right. I need to run you down south and build a brand new art museum in New Tealand just for you to actually store your works in. It is also worth noting that part of the reason we're so far ahead is because of Marley's ability Sogalon, which makes great people 20% cheaper to buy, and we even receive extra gold for each great work we have. There's a production number in there somewhere, but that of course doesn't matter. So over here in New Tealand, we've finally saved up enough money to build yet another art museum. Wabam, there we go. And with that, we can now get a few more art pieces slotted in, as well as a few extra works of great writing into our marketplaces. All very lovely things indeed. Right, okay, so in my capital, we can actually get building with one last theatre square. Let's get it down over here. Lovely stuff. With that, we can probably grab ourselves yet another art museum. And for the first time ever in this entire game, we have now filled up every single possible writing slot that we have access to. This is all absolutely wonderful stuff. And, oh, we can get a portrait in there. Perfect. I'm actually going to do a crazy thing. I know it's late in the game, but we're going to buy a new settler and found one last city just so I have another place to build some districts and store some terrible works of art. Okay, now that we're in a new technological age, that means new resources have been discovered like niter here, which I can sell to the AI for absurd amounts of money because, you know, they have no fiscal responsibility. They just don't understand the economy. Okay, we are rapidly approaching the end game at an absurd rate. We have basically managed to gain control of every single great person in the entire game, and with the amount of money we're making, we can also just block the AI from getting them. On top of this, we are now also beelining to a technology that I realized I missed, which is printing down here. If we're able to get control of it, then it doubles all of the tourism yields from our great works of writing. We have a lot of great works of writing, so yes, the sooner we get that, the better. We're just missing one technology in the way before then, which is machinery, which we can boost if we own free archers, so we're buying free archers. It's a little bit late, it's 1270 AD, but who cares? Free brand new archers are rocking up. Now we're getting even more technological advancements. Byzantium wants horses. Sure, why not Byzantium? Give me all of your money for horses. Alright, so there we go, that is machinery, very rapidly researched. Could even build yet another theatre in Karina. There we go. Let's get it built. Fantastic stuff. I would love to speak to you of the beauty of horses. Sir, now is not the time. I know you're losing, but you don't need to sandbag me with horse conversation. And there we go. We've now grabbed printing, so that should be a very nice boost to our tourism, which is now up to 170. Yes, that has almost doubled our tourism on a single turn. And on top of that, it's going to get even more silly now. As you can see, we have our settler positioned over here next to this unit of tea. We're not going to actually get a good city here. However, because we're playing with the Monopolies and Corporations game mode, for each unit of tea we have, we'll be getting additional percentages on all of our tourism generation. Okay, Sweden's upset that we settled here, but it's okay. They'll understand when we start selling tea to them. Alright, we have yet more incredible artists throwing out their works. just to really maximize our generation of great people. And if we look at the list of previously recruited, provided you ignore all the great scientists and other ones, this is a list we are heavily dominating. Pretty much every other great person recruited, this game has gone to us. And a lot of the reason this has happened is because the AI is really struggling. It's not necessarily the AI's fault. I am mostly to blame because I've deliberately been destroying them by stealing all of their money. Okay, it's turn 201 and we've just completed the ability to do corporations, which in turn will not only let us make more money, but also generate even more tourism. Now, in order to get a corporation going, which is probably going to win us the game, we do need one great merchant, and fantastically we can buy one for 2,700 gold, which should happen very shortly as we are making nearly 800 gold per turn now. Yep, as we are in the modern age of the game, all of the AI's understanding of value is destroyed, as they are more than willing to spend almost all of their money per turn buying fancy rocks from the ground. And I'm of course very happy to oblige. Okay, and there we go, because we've made so much money and also we generate 39 great merchant points per turn. Well, bam, we can buy ourselves a great merchant. Okay, so with our great merchant, we're going to wander on over to this tea, and now we're going to make a glorious tea corporation, which gives us additional production that is useless, but most importantly, just having a corporation, which we are going to of course call Yorkshire Tea, we're going to be boosting up our tourism even more. I don't think the game is actually able to visibly display this or calculate it, but it is there. Can I build yet more theatre squares? Yes, I can. Just why not one more theatre square? What is one more theatre square in the grand scheme of things? We've got an infinite amount of money, why not? That was enough to instantaneously win the game. Okay, that was pretty silly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have technically done it. That is a game of Sid Meier's Civilization 6-1 without any production at all. So there we have it. It's been a glorious return into Sid Meier's Civilization 6 to prove yet again that this is in fact a perfectly balanced game with absolutely no exploits, provided you ignore most of the contents of this video. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed it, then make sure to give us a like, and why not consider subscribing for more. And if you have a game you'd like to see me break next, or an absurd challenge, then let me know in the comment section so that way I can direct my chaos. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see each and every one of you in the next one. Thank you very much to our YouTube channel members and Patreons, and I'm afraid that's all. So goodbye for now.